The government has slashed subsidy for electric two-wheelers being provided under its FAME 2 program. How does that impact a budding EV industry in India? Let's ask that question straight to the Prince auto expert, Kushan Mitra. Welcome, Kushan. Welcome to the dashboard. Welcome to the Print once again.
Yeah,
What is this subsidy cut going to do, especially for the two-wheelers? Also, I wanted to know first, is it only the two-wheelers who get impacted,
yeah.
manufacturers who get impacted, or is it also the four-wheelers?
It is a very complicated issue which I've dealt with in multiple columns actually. So let's start with what happened. A few months ago, there was a bunch of letters written by two-wheeler manufacturers where some believe the petrol two-wheeler manufacturers wrote this to the Ministry of Heavy Industries, saying that their FAME 2 subsidy had been abused by other electric two-wheeler makers. One thing to understand about the FAME 2 subsidy was the only private vehicles you could buy were two-wheelers, because for four-wheelers, whether they're trucks or buses or taxis, they had to be commercial usage, even three-wheelers. So only a commercial use three-wheeler ever got the subsidy, but two-wheelers, anybody could buy them. You and I could buy them.
Right.
They claim to be an abuse of the process. It was said that manufacturers who were supposed to have a certain amount of value addition done in India, 50%, within a few years' time under a phased manufacturing program, failed to do that.
Right.
So for a lot of back and forth, and then the government stopped giving the subsidies and held back some payments that were due for subsidies that had already been approved. The amount due is in excess of 200 crores, or right. I believe 1,000 crores, as some people are claiming.
Yeah, according to some reports, it's 1,000.
Yeah, it's 1,000 crores. Which has put a lot of two-wheeler electric vehicle manufacturers under huge capital stress because, the cash flow has become very tight. The subsidies, they claim, have already been passed on to consumers and the government hasn't paid them back. Anyway, after a lot of back and forth, the government said, you know what, let's just cut the subsidy. So from June 1st, the FAME 2 subsidy still exists for two-wheelers. However, an earlier subsidy of 15,000 rupees per kilowatt hour of battery, up to a maximum of 40% of the cost of the electric two-wheeler, which was the earlier policy, is now become only 10,000 rupees per kilowatt hour battery subsidy, up to 15% of the value of the scooter, right, or two-wheeler. This has meant that big manufacturers like Ola, Ather, everybody, Ampere, TVS, Bajaj have all increased prices between 15 to 25,000 rupees. Until the subsidy was cut, May sales for electric two-wheelers in India were record-breaking. Right. We sold 105,000, approximately just under 105,000 electric two-wheelers in May. But preliminary data on Vahan, which is the Ministry of Road Transportation's website where car and vehicle registrations are noted, have it that there were registration of electric vehicles has almost halved in June. Of course, that's preliminary data. It's not accurate. Vahan data takes some time to catch up. But yes, it's quite evident that electric two-wheeler sales have fallen.
Right, Kushan. That has come right at the time when the subsidies have been slashed. How do you see manufacturers? Where does it leave them?
Okay, so the big players, and we've heard Bhavish speak in the media. I met Tarun Mehta of Ather and have written about it.
Right.
They have said quite openly that we have to go to a regime where there is no subsidies. Subsidies cannot continue forever and we can live without subsidies. But over here, one must remember that the likes of Ola and Ather are fairly well capitalized. They have funds.
Right.
Ola Electric is also talking about doing an initial public offering. However, this slash in subsidy might even affect their valuation, but that's another story. But some of the smaller players, I've seen emails saying that this is not fair. This will mess up the electric transition. We needed the subsidy for longer. There needs to be more policy stability,
Right.
in a matter of speaking. But to be very honest, subsidies can't last forever, and subsidies, which were in fact aiding the higher end of the two-wheeler consumer.
Right. That's something that you have mentioned. Kushan mentions that in his column also about how it sort of affected and benefited, so to say, a certain section of manufacturers.
It affects not just manufacturers, also buyers. Your buyers are also slightly richer, because let's be honest, even the electric scooter, even with a subsidy, was still more expensive than petrol scooter. And I'm saying scooter, the scooter is the most popular form. Something like a Honda Activa, which is India's best selling scooter to date, costs about 80,000 rupees ex-showroom. Now, before the FAME 2 subsidy was cut, something like the Ola S1 or the Ather 450X was around a lakh. So 20,000 rupees more, but keep in mind that electric vehicles have a very, very low running cost. 1 kilowatt of power, which could be 8 rupees in Delhi if you're charging at home, could take electric scooter up to 30 kilometers, and 1 liter of petrol would take something like a Honda Activa, maybe 50 to 60 kilometers. So the running costs were, and a liter of petrol is 100 rupees. So running costs were incredible for electric vehicles.
Kushan, coming back to the government, with all the, push towards electric green mobility in this country happening right now, do you not think it's some sort of counterproductive, especially for an industry that is still taking shape, and above all, government itself wants them to flourish in that atmosphere? So do you see it as some sort of a knee-jerk reaction because of some quote unquote fraud, some miscalculations by some of the players when letting out subsidies?
Honestly, Anurag, it's a bit of the government shooting itself in its own foot. Now, I have no doubt that the FAME, that is the faster adoption of manufacturing of electric and hybrid vehicles, according to this full name, was intended with, good intentions. And good intentions, somehow the path to darkness is paved with good intentions, as they say. I don't doubt it. I didn't doubt the government, but obviously people will find a way to abuse that system. And what was happening, and I'll be very honest over here, and this has also been admitted by some people, that containers full of batteries were coming, and entire assembled scooters were coming from China. And we've discussed this when we discussed the EV fire story, where these, poor quality batteries were coming from China, poor quality products were coming from China, and what was happening in India, just putting these products together with screwdrivers, and we weren't doing any manufacturing per se in India.
Right.
There are companies like Ola, Ather, even TVS, Bajaj, who are doing genuine manufacturing in India. They've developed their products on the ground up, or, even if they've imported some technology, they've indigenized it. But at the same time, one of the demands by the EV industry for a level playing field is to increase tax on petrol two-wheelers.
Right.
That's Mr. Sohinder Gill of the SMEV and Hero Electric. And I think that's not going to happen, particularly that this is an election year. And while you've said the government might have shot itself in the foot, I also believe, because it's an election year, we are going to have the general elections by March 24, right? Petrol prices will come down. I expect, global fuel prices are relatively lower now. We have benefited from buying, lower price Russian crude. You've heard that story before.
Right.
And the oil marketing companies are enjoying record profits. So we believe that you're hearing that the government is going to ask the OMCs to cut petrol prices by up to 10 rupees a litre. Now, again, that will again change first the subsidy cut, then a petrol price cut.
So some sort of a double whammy for the
double whammy.
So Kushan, just wanted to know, how do you see because now it's done. It has come into effect starting 1st of June, if I'm not mistaken. Subsidies have been slashed. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be a rollback of sorts.
No.
It's been implemented. It has been conveyed to the industry.
Yeah.
So now, what are the options that you see before the players, for both kinds of players, those which have a good cash flow, good capital flow, and for those who are still, trying to find their way around in the Indian market?
Now, as I've written in a column before,
Because there also looks like there is some level of acceptance also.
Yes, there is. Yeah. I mean, I've written that if you're, if you're riding a lot every day, if you have long distances to go, if you are a delivery boy, an electric still makes sense. Just like nuclear power, a nuclear plant costs much more to set up, but nuclear power is then virtually free. Similarly, for electric two-wheeler, it costs a lot initially, but then it's virtually free.
Right.
So if I'm a delivery boy for Zomato, Swiggy, Amazon, electric two-wheelers make immense sense,
right,
because costs are lower. Even if I'm a commercial delivery, it makes immense sense because I'm riding or driving a lot more.
Right.
But when I met Tarun of Ather, Tarun also told me that the average user is only using it for about 30 kilometers a day. At that sort of usage, with the bigger subsidy, then made sense to buy electric. With the newer, lower subsidy, it does not. But I also feel that the higher subsidy skewed the market towards more powerful vehicles.
Okay.
You got these 120, 140 kilometer per hour electric scooters that are very powerful, very fast, good performance, good acceleration. Whereas what we might have needed in India was more middling vehicles.
Right.
Things that not necessarily can go much above 100 kilometers, maybe even less.
Right.
So, something that could have a range of 90 kilometers, have a speed of 90 kilometers, top speed of 90 kilometers,
right,
and cost 90,000 rupees. Ather has come out saying they're developing something called the Ather 450S, which is this lower powered scooter. Ola is also talking of a lower powered scooter. TVS, Bajaj, everybody is now talking, we'll do smaller battery packs, less range, less performance, smaller motors, everything, because not everybody needs these, very powerful, very fast scooters. Of course, there's a market for those. Of course, Royal Enfield, in the story I wrote, Royal Enfield is talking about developing an electric bullet.
Right.
That won't be low performance, but that's what's going to happen. I think there's going to be a subsidized market for less powerful scooters, something you could even buy your college going kids, to go. They can, take the scooter to the market and back. That could enjoy the subsidy. But
right,
if you wanted something really exciting, you pay the money.
So you see it more or less as a disruption, and more as a way that will shift the market dynamics?
It will shift the market dynamics because of this, right? I mean, when you look at the automotive market, one of the most fascinating things was when the government said that cars above 4 meters in length will will have a higher rate of tax.
Right.
What happened was, and at that point of time, sedans were the big market. Tata developed the Tata Indigo CS compact sedan,
right,
below 4 meters. Then you got the Desire that was below 4 meters, the Aura. So, and those started dominating the market and the government, I never thought that somebody's going to take advantage of and create a sedan that is less than 4 meters in length. So similarly, the market always adapts. And yes, we all need to start living without a subsidy. Now, the subsidy did not reach the lowest consumer, and the consumer who's buying into the two-wheeler market, the so-called Aam Aadmi, he or she will not be spending more than 50,000-60,000 rupees on a scooter. So for them, the subsidy was actually impacting the richer buyer. And I think the new rebalancing of the subsidy, rebalancing of the market will be a good thing for everybody. Maybe the subsidy can be more targeted now and it'll be good for the market.
It could also be a sign of a beginning of, so to say, a normalization of the electric vehicle market, because it all started with subsidies, government money pumped up into the for manufacturers to lift up the market mood. But now it seems that there is some level of understanding in the government, particularly, that there is some level of sustainability that this industry has achieved.
It has achieved sustainability, but then of course there are questions. So one of the questions which I will address in my next column, which is going to be, is electric really as clean as it says it is? I mean, even people who are big advocates of electric vehicles are saying that. And of course, you have to read more, but this, I think...
That's a question I would say is something that all new buyers moving into the electric space are asking quite a lot. So we leave it at that in this episode of the Print Dashboard. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Anurag.
Thank you.